Right, welcome, good evening, we're back, it's Walsall Weekly.
So, looking ahead to the next game, Shrewsbury on Saturday. You all going?
Yeah, are you? Hopefully.
Dan, you start. But so we've got Shrewsbury on Saturday. Predictions and anything else you want to say about the game Saturday, Dylan?
Me personally, when it came to this season, I put Shrewsbury mid-table. Really didn't expect them to be in the playoff places, and they've had a fantastic start to the season. I mean, they're the only unbeaten side in the EFL now. So, realistically, every Wolves fan wants us to beat Shrewsbury. They're not our favourites, but I can see them coming and winning. I reckon it'll just be a slim 1-0. But if we play like we did against Wigan and recent games, then it could be 2-3 now. But I reckon just the 1-0.
2.
Shrewsbury.
Disgusting. James, Shrewsbury on Saturday. Do you think they're going to take all 3 points for the first time in God knows how long?
Probably. I mean, it's just one of those games where we'll either turn up, do a game like we do against Sheffield United, or we'll do what we did against Wigan and just not be in the game for 90 minutes. So,
You looking forward to it?
I've always looked forward to Shrewsbury playing them, but this one I'm just not looking forward to it because I do think that Shrewsbury will just go for us.
I can see the fear in your eyes as you speak. So, you think we're going to lose?
Yeah,
What's the score going to be?
2-0 again.
Okay, Chris?
Gut feeling, I think we'll beat them 2-1. That's my gut feeling. I think they're due a loss and we'll be the team to do it. I don't think that's anything to do with how good we are. I just think it's one of those things. I think it'll either be 2-1 to us or 3-1 to Shrewsbury. It'll be one of those two scorelines, in my opinion. I'm looking forward to the game because there's always a few tasty tackles. It's always a nice full-blooded affair. But on paper they should destroy us at the moment. But I get a funny feeling we'll do it and beat them. I don't think it'll be the catalyst to kickstart our season, which is what a lot of people will be saying if we do beat them.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I'm either going to be there or I'm going to be in Nottingham Hospital on Saturday. So I don't know which I'd actually prefer out of the two.
Depends what you're having done on the Saturday, I suppose.
It's not me, it's the missus. So yeah.
Depends how much pleasure you get out of watching her have something done to them, I suppose.
Well, it's either the misery of us losing to Shrewsbury or the misery of me having to cook a tea and do a cups of tea all night. So I don't know.
I'm sure she'd rather send you to Shrewsbury, to be honest.
Yeah. I've seen the way she has her tea, so I'd
Go on, enlighten us.
It's a cup of milk with a little bit of water, and you put the tea bag in the room with it. You don't put it in the cup with it. So it's disgusting.
It's kind of like what Dylan has at night, so I can get to sleep in a cup of warm milk.
It's grounds for divorce, but at the moment I'm actually thinking, which is better, that or actually going to the Shrewsbury game. But yeah, no, I do fancy us for a 2-1 win, but I really don't think it's going to be this catalyst that people will shout out that it is if we do win.
Okay.
So
we're not very hopeful then, really. Let's face it. I don't think we'll get anything better than a draw. But no, John, you'll probably put 4-0 out the bag somewhere somehow. Alright, so in the news, there's not really been a lot of news concerning Walsall, I suppose. I don't want to talk about it, but James O'Connor moved to Kidderminster, rumoured on £900 a week for a year deal. Played all of his career in the Championship and League One. He's now in the National League North.
Yeah.
Getting his coaching badges done there as
I assume he's getting his coaching badge. He's got a point for Kidderminster, yes or no? Quick answer. Let's go around.
Good move for both.
Yeah, great move for both.
yeah.
Would you still have him back at Walsall?
Yeah, for depth.
Definitely.
Why?
I think it's just what we're missing. We're just missing that little bit of experience at the back.
Okay. Chris?
No.
Why?
I think there's clearly something unstable there, regardless of the reasons. You don't want the instability, and on paper again we've got some good defenders who we've recruited. I think we work with what we've got. We work at trying to get Wilson on long term if we can, and develop him. I mean, taking him back would just be us taking a step back and relying on somebody that's not got much in his tank left at this level, if we're honest. But for him, it's a great move. I mean, he's going to step down, he's going to do his coaching badges. That was potentially part of the reason that maybe there was problems with him there. Maybe he was starting to step up and try to be a coach when he not got that with him. I don't know, but you know, he's made the right move. It's the right move for him. The club have sorted it. We move on, and as far as I'm concerned, we've got players there that we can mould. But their problem at the moment is the coaches that they've got working with them. They're clearly not coaching them in the right way. But get out, you know, get Guthrie, get Wilson and Corey Roberts for next season, all trained up, and we could have a really good defence there. So let's work with them.
Okay. The only other piece of news really Walsall related is Will Shorrocks has signed another deal until the end of the season, I believe. It was on a 3-month deal at the start of the season, so he's obviously done something somewhere. Obviously Liam's not here anymore to update us on the under-12s matches that he goes and watches, so I've got no idea. I've seen him turn up for 5 or 10 minutes in a game that should remain unnamed because the competition isn't classed. But do we know anything about him? And if not, then I suppose we can't really say a lot. But do you know anything about Will?
No.
James?
I do. I watched him a few times.
Oh yeah, tell us more.
It looks pretty good. He's someone that can play all across that midfield, and he looks a really good player. I'm surprised he hasn't had a chance in the first team as such as yet.
I suppose he's doing what Bakayoko did, lots of little 3 and 6 month deals.
Yeah.
God knows how many Bakayoko had. He must have had about 2.5 years worth of 6 month deals, I think. And Chris, do you know anything about him? You've seen 5 or 10 minutes of him.
I've seen him a couple of times as well prior to that, and he's got football talent. Could be a good player. I think it's
Sounded mad to him.
Yeah, it's true. But I think part of it at that age now, he's on that cusp of will he develop, and it's physically as much as footballing. You look at somebody like James Baxendale, he got all the passion and desire that Whitney loves. And in this team, you'd have thought, oh, he'd be a guaranteed starter. He's not too bad at football, but physically he just never developed. And that's probably similar here. That was probably what was the issue with Bakayoko. So good luck to the lad, and I hope he kicks on. And you know, I always hope that a player becomes a first team player. You never wish any ill against any of the youngsters. Why would you?
Well, we'll have to wait and see what happens with Will then. And I think that's probably all the news Walsall have had this week really of any interest.
Yep.
Unless anybody else wants to bring anything to the table.
No, I got nothing.
Cheers, James. Anybody else?
No.
Manager's still there, so no news.
No, not starting on that. Moving on to this week's Sadler Showdown. It's week 5, I think, of that. At the minute, scores are Kevy's 2. This is Kev for the next 2 weeks. Chris, representing Kev, hopefully get nothing. I'd love to see Kev in a Walsall kit from afar. Dylan, doing well, mate? Nothing.
Fantastic.
Nothing out of 4 weeks. And James has got 2, and Jay, who isn't here, who took over from Liam, he's got 0 as well, so he's going to have an automatic 0 for today. So he's going nowhere. Today's challenge is sponsored by Maltesers, and it's simply a Malteser challenge, so we're just going to see who's got the biggest mouth. No pun intended to any of you, James. So we're just going to take it in turns, starting with Dylan. We're going to see how many you can fit in your mouth. Any chewing and you're disqualified and your score doesn't count.
Okay.
So as many as you can fit in your mouth. When you've got enough in there, just put your hand up for stop, and God knows what you're going to do with them. Just go from down the toilet or something, you'll be fine. So yeah, we'll do that. We've got 2 bowls here. We've got some reinforcements here just in case James manages to put 300 packs in his mouth at the same time. So yeah, we'll go. So Dylan, please take the bowl, and we'll count them. So when I say go, we'll count. I'll count in my head as well, just so you're not bored listening to me count. So actually, do you know what? I'm going to count them out loud so everybody knows. That's what I'm going to do. So let's start. So off you go. So 1. Keep going. You got to do them all. No chewing.
Oh, I thought we were going down the line.
No. 2, 3. Keep going.
Struggling already.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Any chewing, James is disqualified. 10, 11.
Oh, that sounded like a crunch.
I'm waiting for the crunch.
Any swallowing, and you're at 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, Keep going. 18. Is it in? You can push them wherever you want as long as it's in your mouth.
No swallowing.
18. 19. 20. 21. 22. 23. 24. 25. Have a look at the camera. 25.
Looks like a hamster.
26. Confident you can beat this so far? 27. 27's in. I'm watching. 28. Are you done?
No.
28. 29.
No, you can't put one in the ear.
Keep going. 29. 30. James, confident you can beat him? 31.
Oh, in my big mouth, yeah.
32. Chris, confident?
I'm getting a bit worried now.
32.
We can't let him win this week.
33.
Nah, he's done.
34.
You just find space for more balls.
Don't spit him out because you're going to have to stop. 33. Come on, lads, let him do it.
Don't be a swallower.
34. Come on, let's be quiet now, let him do it. 34. 35. How many more do you reckon? 36.
There's no way he's got more room.
Can you breathe?
We don't want to kill you.
36. He's got 36. Can you get that one in or not?
That's a no.
Hang on, let him try. 36. Are we in? 37. If you get to 40, I'll be impressed. 37.
Yeah, he's done.
Keep going. Good effort. 38, 39, 40, 41,
Nah, he's definitely swallowed some.
40, 41. Where are these going? 41, keep going.
He'll be coming out his nose in a minute.
Don't they are, leave him. 41, 42, don't make yourself sick. 42.
Again.
Finished? 43. 44. 45.
What the fuck?
46. Nearly. That noise wasn't great. 46. 47. 48. 49. Can you get the 50? 50. Are you going to give up at 50? Let's have a look. 51, yeah? Right, go and put them away. Flush them down. So Dylan got what? 51?
51, yeah.
Listen. Oh dear.
Fair play to him. That was a good effort.
Right, so Dylan, 51. So after watching Dylan shove that man in his mouth, James, are you confident you can beat him?
No.
Chris, scared yet?
Yeah.
Dylan's obviously been practicing putting fingers in his mouth. You right, Dylan? What? Yeah. So Dylan's returning now, so let's have a look at him. Have a look at the camera, Dylan. 51, how do you feel?
I'm impressed.
I'm there. Sound like your mouth's a bit full there.
You don't know when you're laughing because you can only breathe through your nose.
Right, so you got 51, so now it's time to watch James shovel things into his mouth. Won't be the first time for some. Right, so 51 is your target, so off we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18,
You right, mate?
19, leave him. Stroke down. 20,
Oh,
21, 22. Stop making him laugh, otherwise you can move.
It's alright when you make me
20, 22, 23, 24, 25. So you're basically halfway to where Dylan was. 25. 26, 27. If you're going to be sick, stop. 28.
Do a bastard to push back out.
Leave him. 28, come on, 28. 29. 30. There's 30. 31. 30. 31. 32. 33. I hope you're enjoying watching this. 33. We're on 33, yeah? 17. 18 more to go. 30. 33.
Don't make yourself sick.
34. Are you going to give it 34? 35. Change hands. 35. 36. 36. 37. 38. James is out at 38. It's not the first time I've seen him being sick for right, James 38. See if this pen works. No. James, that'll do. 38. And up next we have Kev stroke Chris.
Alex, he's got his slobber.
So let's mix them in. So you've got 39 to not finish last. But you've got to beat 51 to get the point for Kev this week. So, Kev, if you're watching, you've got no hope.
Kev would have been well good at this.
Dylan thinks he'd be very good at this. I don't know why that is. But whilst James is declogging his mouth, off we go with Chris. 1, 2, 3. How you feeling, James? 4.
Yeah, that was really in your mouth.
5, 6. Have a look at the camera. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15, 14. I can see a tactic going on here. 14, 15,
Do you think he'd get them shin pads?
16, 17. Should do. 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33. Do you want to do the packs opening? 34, 35. 3 more to equal James. 36, 37, 38. So we've tied with James. One more. 39. So James is last. 40. 41. 42. 43. 44. 45. 46.
No,
47.
you're letting Kev win here.
Hang on. 48.
Stop.
49. 3 more to go and you've won. 49. 50. 51. So we've levelled Dylan. 52. Do you want to carry on? 50. 52 and a half. Go on then, run to the loo.
Tell me I've lost by 1.
52 and a half.
Enjoy the look of the loo, by the way.
Make sure you flush. Okay, so now we were all decleansed in the mouth and we can speak again. It's not all clogged up. The results were Dylan got 51, James got 38, and Chris got 52 full Maltesers in his mouth. So Chris, parading as Kev, has won the point this week. So Kev goes 3-2 up. So the scores so far: Kev 3, James 2, Dylan 0, and Jay 0. Obviously Jay's not here. So Dylan, you're 5 weeks in. You've won absolutely jack. Are you going to win something sometime?
I'll try.
A trip onto the pit.
Are you confident of winning any of the rounds? We've got 5 left. You've got 5 left to drag you off the bottom, and if there is a tie, then there's going to be a week just of challenges for those that are tied at the bottom. Confident you're not going to finish dead last?
I'm passionate I can do it.
If you say so. James, you're relatively safe as it stands.
Yes.
How did it feel fitting all those chocolate balls in your mouth?
I thought I did better than that.
38 was pretty poor, to be honest, I think. You lost. You actually lost to Dylan. It's only because Chris managed to fit one more in his mouth that Dylan hasn't got a point, so you should be ashamed. Actually, Dylan, coming back to you on that one, you only lost by 1 Malteser. How do you feel?
I do.
You could have had a point.
It's worse going first because you set the bar to everyone. So I think if Chris would have gone first and got 52, I would have got 53. So it's just one of those.
Okay, we're still on 0.
Still lost.
So, Chris, stroke Kev, 52. You win. First appearance, first win. Which actually, Dylan's been on since the start and he's not won anything. So congratulations.
Well, that's it. I mean, he says he's passionate to not finish bottom, but with passion and enthusiasm and summoning you're in a Kev, you can see how many balls you can fit in your mouth. So that one's for Kev. I mean, he picked me out of the hat for the Legends game, so I've got to give him something back.
Okay. If you want to give your boyfriend a message, there's a camera. Give Kevin a message while he's in Turkey, let him know that you've done it for him.
Yeah, I mean, enjoy your holiday in Turkey while I'm taking balls in my mouth.
Right, so we move on from that to questions. Yes?
Yeah.
Cheers, lads.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So moving on to questions then. So we'll finish one off from last week, which was off Keith Paddock, Kev's dad. Kev, he's behaving himself on holiday, Keith. I can assure you. I've seen pictures. He's been very good. You asked a question last week, Keith, which we didn't get around to answering, which was, can we pick our worst Walsall 11 between the 4 of us, or 5 of us, which was me, Dylan, James, Jay, and Kev. We put something on paper, but because Dylan didn't charge the camera properly or something like that, it ran out. So, yeah, again, as James said, Dylan. So our answer to that question was, as a worst 11, we played a 4-4-2, and in goal we had Johnny Brown. Left back we had Geordie Lyle, who you don't even know. Right back we had Chris Palmer, with centre backs of Kevin Toner and Kofi Dakina. Then right wing we had Carlos Canero. On the left wing we had Carlos Garocha.
So something about Carlos.
And in the middle we had Carlos Andre and Stefan Oakes. And up front we had Par Sedekvist and Adolphus Offadile. So if you think you can do any worse than that, please have a go. But that is pretty terrible. Dylan and James, they've probably got no idea who.
I think I know about 3 of them.
I would suggest that Dylan probably knows one of them, and that's probably Kevin Turner. He knows a bit about Johnny Brain, maybe. But other than that, that's the only one he knows. But yeah, so that's our worst team, Keith. If you can do any worse, let us know. So yeah, that's that one from last week. And then if we move on to questions that we've been given this week, then when I can find them. Alright, so the first one is off Lee Plant, as is the second one. So his first question is, has Whitney made a huge error allowing Preston and O'Connor to leave, looking at our defensive record and the amount of penalties we've given away this season? So I'll start and say no, not particularly. O'Connor maybe, but that was something outside of his control potentially. So he's gone and move on. Preston, don't think he was good enough.
I don't think he wanted to stay either.
I don't know. Maybe he wanted to stay. I don't think he was good enough anyway. He's pulled a rabbit out of the hat going to Swindon, to be honest, and that's only because somebody got crocked. And as for the penalties, I don't think many of the penalties, if any in the league at least, have come from centre back.
It's mainly been Leahy and
A lot of them have been.
Gillespie and Roberts, ain't it?
A lot of them have come for the kind of wide positions, so I don't think they would have necessarily made a difference anyway. But Chris, has Whitney been wrong to let Preston and O'Connor leave?
No, the right decisions. I mean, exactly what you've just said with O'Connor. Preston, he wouldn't have been first choice, and if we're looking at somebody like Preston as first choice, we've got problems. It's deeper than that. It's deeper than what players are on the pitch at the moment. Why we're giving away silly penalties, why we're conceding and leaking goals. There's just so much tactically that's wrong there that at the moment you could have Franco Baresi at the back and we'd still be leaking goals. To me, it's not the personnel at the moment. It's how they're being drilled, the training that's clearly going on. They're just not. They're not playing as a proper unit at the moment. Again, on paper, there'd be a lot of teams in this division that would love the defensive qualities that we've got. I know people talk about Lee, but when you play him as a wing back, you shouldn't have to worry so much about him coming back and defending. Okay, he's a bit suspect as a proper full-back, but you should still learn from giving a penalty away. There just doesn't seem any pressure, it seems to be. Maybe they're overexerting, maybe they're thinking we've got to scramble and do everything we can to stop a goal, and that's what's causing the penalties. But it goes deeper than personnel, so I think it was right to get rid of both of them.
James?
Yeah, I agree. I think O'Connor's probably the dubious one that probably could still get into this side, but Preston, he'd be way down the pecking order anyway. And I think before we officially left, we were all saying just get rid of him because we just don't need him anymore. With the 2 loanies coming in, so I think the main area is just Lee. He's just a bit suspect defensively. I think he's just not learning defensively. I think 2 of the penalties are probably exact replicas of how the man's beaten him, and then he's just sort of wailed his leg, and the defender's tripped over. So I think O'Connor would be the only one that would fit in the side, but I think you look at Wilson and Guthrie, and I think you probably said there will be a better pairing than O'Connor with one of those 2.
Okay, Dylan, was he right to let Preston and O'Connor go?
I read somewhere that it was Preston that wanted to leave, whether that's true or not, but Preston wouldn't get into the side at all. O'Connor, really, I think he'd just be there for depth now, and I think he's got a fantastic move for himself going to Kidderminster. So to be fair, it's in the defensive training, we should be, after conceding the 2 at Bury, we should be training them on how not to concede penalties. I mean, it's common sense as a defender. And I mean, we're in October now, coming up to 2 months into the season, and we've conceded 7. It's really, really bad. To be honest, I think Whitney deserves praise for the back line he built. they've been bad and they've been good, but you know we have built a pretty good back line. It's just a shame that they don't work as well as many people would want them to most of the time. But I think many teams in this division would love the back line that we have. I mean, Devlin is superb. Wilson potentially has the quality to play in the Championship in the future. Guthrie, I mean, he's a leader. He's been captain of the side in the Checker Trade Trophy. So it's just in the training. We need to be training it on the training ground now. And in fairness, the backroom staff are at fault just as much as the players are.
Okay. Interesting. Second question is from Lee Plant again. Is Whitney a better manager than Hutchins and Merson? And I'll start again because that's what I've just been looking at my phone for, if you can see. Just been looking at win percentages. We'll take out Whitney's first 3 game spell when Smith went. He won 1, drew 2, so that's only 33% win. And just nonsense out of 3 games. So, since 7th of March 2016, Whitney's win percentage is, and I think this is league games only, going off Wikipedia, is 37.31%. Yeah. Then we go down to Chris Hutchins, 31.63. And then we go to Mr. Merson, who's 34.04. So, if you go off stats, Whitney's technically the best manager of the 3 of them. Whitney has had on this one, has had 67 league games. I don't know when this was up to date till. Pretty recently. Hutchins had 98 and Merson had 94. So at the minute, Whitney's got a few percent on there. Do you reckon that would average out at the same amount of games as to what they are? And then who's the better manager in your view? So I'll start with you, Dylan.
I think when you look at managers, it's right to look at the stats, but you can't just base it on the stats. I mean, Whitney, he just comes out with a crock of shit half the time. He's the kind of manager where he can't admit he's in the wrong. He's always got I mean, you can look at the stats, yeah, he's got an alright percentage. But I think one of the key things about being a manager is you need to point out when you're in the wrong, and he doesn't. I mean, we've got Whitney Bingo. He says the same stuff every single week. And he never faults he's in the wrong. And I think, I mean, when we lose at away games, half the time he doesn't even come over and thank the fans for travelling up and down the country. So statistically he's doing all right, but he's never in the wrong, is he? There's always an excuse.
James?
Yeah, exactly the same as what Dylan has said, but there's no way even Whitney can be worse than Merson and Hutchins. I mean, those two are just ridiculous, especially Hutchins. You know, he's at least Whitney has some knowledge in the transfer market and actually brought players in that were actually decent as Hutchins. You know, some of the signings he made was an actual joke looking back at it. But Whitney's, you know, it's the same as Dylan said. He just comes up with excuses after excuses, and you know, you just want one day for him to just come out into press conference and go, "Yeah, I got it wrong." You know, and I think a lot more of us would probably say fair enough if he did admit that he got something wrong, instead of looking for excuse after excuse. You know, last night he blamed it on tiredness with Guthrie and Leahy, and then you're looking at thinking, well, if Guthrie and Leahy are tired, they've played every game this season, why play them? Why not rest them and then keep them fresh for Shrewsbury? When there's other players that could probably drop in for a competition that no one's particularly that bothered about.
Okay, fair enough. And Chris?
I'd be interested to see the stats on a full Whitney season last year and Merson's full season that he had. When you look at figures, that can be skewed by things like when Whitney first started as a manager. It was the end of the Dean Smith season, and that will have kind of falsified his figures a little bit and brought them up. And they might still be better than Merson's. What scares me is the parallels between the way we started to go under Merson and then eventually the drop into League Two.
Yep.
And currently are there. And I think if it wasn't for Whitney getting the recruitment right this year, then we could be in real trouble. You have got to ask how much of that is just totally down to him and other influences. You'll never know what goes on exactly behind the scenes. So you've got to give him credit on that. But then the worst some areas you could give Merson, as hard as it is for me to say that, credit in. I'm glad he's not our manager anymore.
I've got an interesting fact for you. That's what I'm just looking at.
Yeah.
Where did Whitney finish last season? 14th? It was 14th, wasn't it? No, it's 14th.
14th, 15th.
14th. Merson's first season as a manager in League One? 14th.
Yeah.
I know Whitney's made the exact same start as last season as well. Same points.
Yeah, we're on the same points.
No
record,
progress.
everything.
I think that's it, isn't it? That's a very good way to look at it, is the lack of progress. I mean, Hutchins, he was a total disaster. The less said about that chap, the better. But when you compare him to someone like Merson, it's worrying that actually you're having to compare him. Because it's not like you're saying, you know, has he got the makings of a Dean Smith anymore? That's what we were saying last season. Is he going to turn into the next Dean Smith that learns?
Mm-hmm.
And now we're actually saying, is he going to end up as bad as Merson? And I think that says it all, really. The only progress that's been made is him regressing as a manager, whereas we expect to see the opposite. We expect to see, as you say, better than exactly the same start as last season.
Okay, fair enough. Bit thin on questions this week. I know it's been a bit of a rush getting everything set up, but I'll ask you a question. We're what, 2 months in there, 2 full months? Who's going to finish in the top 2? Who's going to finish in the playoffs? Or who's going to finish in the top 2? Which team's going to get promoted through the playoffs and which 4 are going down from all of you? So I'll start with James. Who's your top 2?
I think it's hard to see past Wigan winning the league. And then top in the second place. I think it's hard to look past Shrewsbury because they're doing exactly what you need to do in this league, and that's win games which you're not necessarily deserving to win.
Okay. Who's going up through the playoffs? Just one team.
I was liking the look of Peterborough at one point, but I think they've started to tail off a bit. Oxford were another shout, but they're utter shit against us. And
Beat Peterborough 4-1 there. Away, I think.
I mean, who's in the playoffs at the moment?
Teams in
Blackburn
36.
are in there.
Charlton probably are, just about.
Yeah, I think I put Charlton to come second at the start of the season.
So you're going to have them through the playoffs?
Yeah.
Alright, so Wigan, Shrewsbury and Charlton. Who's going down? Gillingham?
It depends if they get Steve Evans in. I think if they do actually manage to bring him in, I think he might just rescue them.
Can't see, even if he does come in, Scally's not going to spend his cash.
Yeah,
That'd be daft.
he's going to be working with a shit squad, ain't he?
So go on, 4 to go down.
Oldham will definitely go down this season.
Mm-hmm.
I think, yeah, Gillingham will probably go down. They'll probably take it to the last day of the season or something. Who else is down there?
Northampton.
Plymouth.
Yeah,
Plymouth
Plymouth.
will go.
They're awful.
Wimbledon.
Yeah, I'll go Wimbledon as well. I think I had them down at the start of the season as well.
Okay, Dylan, quickly, top 2. Stop. You always have to mess with something. What the hell is that? What? Dylan, James.
It's a coupon.
Chuck it out. Can't take you anywhere. Right, so top 2 quickly.
But Blackburn and Wigan.
Playoffs. As in one team to win.
Charlton.
4 to go down.
Oldham, Gillingham, Plymouth and Northampton.
Interesting. Chris, top 2.
Top 2, Wigan will win it. And then if Shrewsbury can hang on, Shrewsbury will go up second.
Mm-hmm.
I think if Shrewsbury drop into the playoffs, Blackburn will probably take second. If Shrewsbury drop into playoffs, I don't think they'll win it.
I'll do what we did the other year.
Yeah, I think if Blackburn are in the playoffs, Blackburn will win the playoffs. But if it's not, if Blackburn go up automatically, I fancy Charlton to take the playoffs. But then again, as we know, what happens in January can have a big
My head's lost.
decision. Because with the recruitment that can happen in January, there can be a club that at the moment's hanging around 10th place that can fly up, and that's always the difficulty to call. But I can't see past Wigan. Of all the teams, Wigan will go up. I can't see how they won't.
So if we're going Wigan and Shrewsbury, second, pick based on now, forget January.
Right, if we go now and Shrewsbury do finish second, Blackburn will win the playoffs.
I'm going down.
Going down, yeah, it's hard to look past Oldham, Plymouth. I think Gillingham will probably be safe because they've acted soon enough, so I'll go for Northampton and Wimbledon.
Okay, I'm going to go for Shrewsbury to win the league, followed by Wigan. And then I will say Blackburn in the playoffs, and going down will be Plymouth, Oldham, Wimbledon and Gillingham.
Who's going up with Shrewsbury and Blackburn? He didn't say second.
I said Wigan.
You did say Wigan.
Shrewsbury, Wigan, that's 2. Blackburn is 3. Shrewsbury, Wigan, Blackburn.
Sorry, the last Wolves blog lot. I've got no faith in
I'm
them.
sorry, I'm not sorry. It's it's just fact.
They're just rubbish.
They're not a good team, neither are we. But one more question: if we're going to sell one person in January, it's one person, James, just so you can count. Who would you sell? Out of everybody that we've got that's likely to get some interest, and that I suppose you can include loan players because Tyler Roberts is attracting a bit of interest.
Yeah.
Who would you sell or let go from their loan to move clubs?
I'd sell Jackson.
Do you think Jackson's going to get a lot of interest?
He's not going to get a lot of interest, but he'll get some interest.
He won't get any
Off who?
end of contract.
He's going to be on a fair wedge. So we'll restart, and I'll re-ask that again so you understand English. One question for you, Dylan. In January, if there's one player out of our squad that you would sell or release from the loan to go somewhere else, that's likely to gather interest from other teams, i.e. Tyler Roberts, not Simeon Jackson, who's it going to be?
Bakayoko.
James, I'll move to you because his head's gone. Put it this way, Tyler Roberts has got through. He's got Swansea, Sunderland, and some other nonsense after him.
Yeah, but we wouldn't get any of that money though, would we? So,
No, but would you?
It's not real interest to us.
Would you fight to keep him for the end of the season, or would you gladly let him go and move to another Premier League club for them to then loan him out for the rest of the season?
I mean, we'll be losing a battle. I think it would have to be an agreement with whatever club he's going to see if we can lend him back.
And if it's one of our players, then who's most likely to get sold in January? Everybody's going to say Oztumer. Do you think it is?
I mean, we could possibly sell Oztumer, but I think
Joe Edwards?
Oztumer's contract's running out at the end of the season, so
could be worth a punt for a bottom half championship club. Burton, someone like that.
True, but I think
you're shaking your head and saying no, but I bet you they can pay more than we can.
Oh yeah.
I just don't think he could cut it in the championship.
But even though you've said he's better than Sutters.
You've just been blown out of the water, mate, so you can sit there silent for the rest of this episode. Anyway, we'll get back to a sensible discussion. So, go on.
I mean, if we could sell Oztumer and get some money for him before his contract runs out.
How much would you sell him for? What would be acceptable to sell Oztumer in January?
I mean, you're probably talking. I think knowing his contract's running out, you're probably not going to get any. You're not going to get $1 million for him. I think you're talking probably 700 grand. I think.
With 6 months left,
I think
you're hoping.
Yeah.
It's a bit ambitious, James.
You out. Make sure you flush them Maltesers down. Chris?
I'd fight tooth and nail to keep Roberts. As a bit of a left wing one, I'd probably let Adji go. Not because he's done anything wrong, but because I think we could get somebody similar from the Premier on loan. And I'd also use letting him go as kind of impetus to try and keep Tyler Roberts. Guarantee indefinite more game time.
He's from the Premier now.
I know. What I'm saying is, if we were to let him go and go to another club on loan from Burnley or somewhere, I wouldn't lose too much sleep about it. If it had to be one of our own players, obviously everybody, as you've said, is going to go towards Oztuma. Joe Edwards is potentially, if somebody's looking to either survive in this division or maybe to go up and want a workhorse in midfield. The one that worries me is Devlin, if he started to catch people's attention, but I think they'll probably want to see him for a full season before coming in. But personally, I'd not be that disappointed to see Oztuma go.
Okay.
I just think he's a very direct player, he's an exciting player to watch. I love all he's done. But I think he's one of those players that if you let him go, you can rebuild your squad in a different formation. You wouldn't replace him like for like. And I'd rather do that, hopefully, if we can put a few more points on the board between now and then. But that's now looking unlikely. But if we'd have got quite a few points on the board between now and January, but not really with a playoff push possibility, I'd have said start building for next season. And just get a little bit of cash. I don't agree we'll get 700,000 for him. I think the realistic figure for him is about 150, just because his contract status. And also, I do think, I mean, you've got to look at his time at Peterborough. He was in and out of the squad. We rely on him because we've got a smaller squad. I think a lot of squads in our division would look at potentially buying him and using him for 60 minutes a game, bringing him off more. And
I think if you're looking at it, if you're getting 100 grand for him, would it be worth selling him?
Might as well if we're in mid-table.
depends if he does a Sawyer's dad, doesn't it? If he knows he's got somewhere at the end of the season and he don't want to get injured and he stops performing for us, I'd take 100 grand over him not performing for us. It's a hard one. It's hard.
It's one of those where you either keep him for the 6 months and say, well, we've lost 100 grand, or well, we've gained 100 grand, but we've got someone.
If I knew we were going to get 5 goals out of him between then and the end of the season, I'd keep him and reject the 100 grand. But if his head's going to go down, and that can only be judged by the people who see him day to day in training and whether his head gets turned by another club.
Well, we will end that debate there. On Chris's words that it's hard. So we'll be back next week. Another challenge. Might be a bit of a hot one. So that's giving you guys a little bit of a clue. Might be a bit of a hot challenge. Might not even be weather related. Right, so we'll end that on there then with Chris's words that it's hard. So we'll be back next week with a new challenge. Might be a little bit fiery, a little bit hot. And I'm not talking about the weather because we're in winter nearly. Dylan?
Winter is coming.
I don't know what to say, but thank you for being here tonight. Chris, see you next week. James, see you next week. We'll see you all next week, and thanks for watching.
You're just not counting.
7, 8.
Lovely taste, like, isn't it?
I can't do that, man. Fucking balls, man.
Do I say that again?
Fucking balls. Oh, not even right.
You're an embarrassment. Is that all you
I've dropped my two then.
embarrassing?
Weak effort this is.
Underneath your eyes are swelling up. And you're eating up.
I can't wait to see it on camera. I want to see what my face looked like. He looks like one of the chipmunks.
Looks like that anyway.
How have I done so badly?
Rob's definitely one of those competitive guys where he's got to beat everyone.
He looks like Santa Claus with mumps. I can't wait till he sees the toilet.
Did you flush it?
I did, but I don't flush.
To the flush?
Well, next to biscuits.
They get in the morning, they're pigs. Why is the always
I think I was 55. This is the quietest Rob's ever been.
Should do this more often.
One more, I reckon.
Is it that thing where you blow the ball to that? Is it taller than cheap?
Oh, it's pretty out.
Or can you do one more to make 60?
You've got a gap right in the middle, they just ram it in.
61. 62.
That's it, hurts most, you know, when you ram them up there.
64. 65.
Was the one that they both come out? I've never seen him run.